Hello, today I'm going to talk about this issues from the consumer point of the view. So consumer need two basic things. They need affordable housing and they need enough income to pay for the everyday need. So I believe the government should step in to careful the plan and control the policy and the gradual minimum wage increase. The goal is not to control the whole market. The goal is to protect the people when they have has the power and to make sure they can still afford the basic need. A household but the and then household budget has two sides, income and expense. Rent is one of the biggest monthly expense for most family. Wage decide how much money people have available to pay that rent. So when rent goes up the quickly but wages stay low, consumer have to make difficult choice. They may spend less on food and then transportations or healthcare. Then some people may even have to move. Then government policy can help with the both side of this problem by control suddenly land increase and helping worker earn the enough money. And then let's look at the basic economy ideas behind this policy. The land stabilization is a price selling. It limits how much land a landlord can charge or how quickly rents the can increase. This help the currently tenant because they can't continue pay a low and more the stable rent. However, if the limit is too low, landlord may stop rent their property or spend less money or maintenance. This can reduce the number and quality of the rental homes. So a minimum wage work as a price below is at a low hour rate that employer can pay. Worker who keep their job earn more the money. However, if they wage increase too quickly, some employee may cut job or reduce the work hour. So economic theory does not support unlimited government control. It supports careful and balanced actions. And then, according to the U.S. Bureau of the Labor Statistics, housing make up the 33.4% of the average householding spending in 2024. That was about $26,266 per year. Housing is a basic need and moving is not easy. People often they live near their job, school, family, and community. Moving also take time and cost money. Because of this, tenants cannot simply move every time they rent increase. This giving landlord more power and make it the harder for consumer to respond to suddenly rent increase. So now let's look at the San Francisco example. The policy helped the tenants to stay in their home and then reduce their likelihood of the moving by about the 20%. And then however, rent housing supply fell by 50% and then citywide rent increased by an estimate 5.1%. And then this show that renter control can protect currently tenants, but it should be the combined with the policy that maintains and expand housing supply. Mm, So I do not support completely freezing land forever. Instead, I support land stabilization. This means landlord can still the lazy land, but the increase should be the reasonable and follow a clear public guideline. The government should also make sure the landlord continue maintaining their property. At the same time, cities should make it easier and faster to build the new housing. They should also protect the land housing that the already exists. Hmm. So now let's compare minimum wage in the 2026. The federal minimum wage is still $7.25 per hour. It's not increased since July 2009. And then, however, California statewide minimum wage is 60.90 cents, $60.90 per hour starting January 1, 2026. So the city of the Los Angeles has an even higher local minimum wage. It increased to $80.42 per hour on July 1, 2026. This difference show why one wage level may not work equal when it's every part of this country. The cost of the living is much higher in places like the Los Angeles. Low-wage workers are also consumer. So when they earn more and they have more money for rent, food, transportation, and utility. Then, however, the increase should be gradual. The government should also watch the whether's employee reduce job or work the hour. And then the the budget office studied the possible effect for the raising the wage ACT of 2021. The CBO estimate that worker affected by the proposal will receive a total net pay increase of the $333 billions. It also estimates that about 900,000 people would the move above the poverty line, right? So, however, it estimated that employment would fall by about 1.4 million workers. This number shows both sides of the issue. High wage can increase income and reduce poverty. At the same time, there is a risk that some workers may lose their job. The That is why I support a gradual increase with the regular review of employments and work hour. Mhm. So, sorry. So here is the simple example of the how these two policy could affect a consumer. Let's say a worker earn the money, the extra $2 per hour, and work the 50 hours per week. This calculation is $2 time 50 hour and then time 52 weeks divided by 20 months. That given the worker about the $346.67 more in gross income each month. Now let's say rent stabilization also prevent a 150 monthly rent increase. So together, the worker monthly budget improved by $496.67 before the tax. So this is only an example, but it shows how higher wage and stable land can work together to help a household. So there are real concern about the policy. Land control may reduce the housing supply. Minimum wage increase may reduce job or work hour, and the business may also raise this price. But these risks do not mean the government should do nothing. They means the policy need to design carefully. Land stabilization should come with the policy that support new housing. Minimum wage increase should happen slowly, and government should review employment and work the hours after each increase. The government should also monitor price. Small business that qualify could receive the temporary support that they adjust. So consumers still need the protections because moving home or change job is not always easy. So worker and tenants often have the less power than employer and landlord. So my recommendation has four main parts. First, protect tenants from the sudden and unreasonable rent increase. And then second, raise the minimum wage gradual through a schedule that is announced in advance. The third, build more housing and protect the land housing that already exists. So fourth, review the result before moving the next step. So government should track the job and then weekly work hour and then land price and then property maintenance and the number of the available land the home. This make the policy easier to measure and change when necessary. So this one is a conclusion piece. So from a consumer point of the view, government should step in a rent and minimum wage policy. So in my want experience, my rent it has gone up by $100, $50 a month every year for the past 3 years. That means I now pay $450 more each month than I did the 3 years ago. This has been a real burden for me. So it shows why consumers need the government protections. So land control can protect families from the sudden rent increase, while the higher minimum wage can help people afford their everyday need. Of course, this policy can affect the housing supply and job. That is why rent limit should be reasonable and wage increase should happen slowly. Instead of the doing nothing, the government should take the balanced actions and keep checking the result. Okay. Thank you for the listening to my presentations. Thank you.